Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Scribblechat. It's been a while, hasn't it? I feel like that's the new intro to the show. Is that it's been a while. I thought we'd do a little catch up. What's going on? All the good stuff. First and foremost, thank you to everybody that ordered a commission from me. If you're not aware, it's totally cool. I was just running a sort of, I don't want to call it a secret sale, but I just posted on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, just like a quick little sale, a price I was doing for commissions. It's over now, so stay tuned if you're interested in picking that stuff up. I'd like to run those a couple times a year, but in the meantime, you can head over to my store and order commissions from me there as well. But I just wanted to say thank you if you're listening to anybody that did order one. Really do appreciate it. And I hope to have that to you soon. And I'll also be taking pictures and stuff to show you guys. It's art, right? So you guys get to check that stuff out too. Other than that, there hasn't been too much going on. I've this recording here, I've put off for a while just because there's nothing really that's been happening, and it's odd. It's super odd to say it, and I'm just becoming more and more content with like going to work and coming home and doing nothing. And I don't necessarily mean doing nothing like just watching TV all night, even though, to be fair, I do that sometimes. But this year, and I've said this a little, I don't know if I said this or when I said this, but this year I'm really just focusing on, for me anyway, like mental health and physical health. The physical part's taking a little bit slower to get going, but it is a goal of mine this year to lose like I don't know, it's like 40 pounds or something crazy. Uh, just for all the benefits that come from that. Art wise though, it's like art. I've always given art priority in my life, which is good, and I don't mean to belittle anything like that. I just feel, and again, this I know there's a lot of overlap between these episodes of me sort of just talking this out, but my brother used to say things like, actually, the actual quote. I'll sort of like paraphrase it because I always butcher quotes. But along the lines of, if you work all the time, then you're not really. What are you doing the work for, kind of thing, right? And I don't want to get in there and start picking straws and stuff like that, but I see it, and he's a father, right? So he's got more of the family aspect where I don't. I have a girlfriend, and we live together, but we don't have kids or anything, right? And that might change things, but I'm definitely, to be fair, the job that I have, I've never talked bad about it. At least not publicly. I think all of us, no matter what job you have, even if it's comic books, there's tons of days you're gonna have where you just bitch, right? But because I've always tried to do comic book work on the side to try to get that to be my full time gig, that I didn't or haven't treated the job that I have with maybe not the respect that it deserves. Maybe it's not that. I don't have any intentions of stealing people's money. Especially if I'm working for somebody, I'm not just there to take their money and walk away. Collect the paycheck and any of that stuff. But when your mindset is, and this might speak to some of you, if you're working at a place and in your mind you want to move on, but you need the job, right? Like in your head, if you've already committed that you're leaving and you're moving on, there's things you do and there's attitudes and things like that sort of facilitate that action happening, right? And as for me, I've lately I've just been calling art a hobby. You guys have probably noticed that like there hasn't been too many art updates at all. The stuff on YouTube, especially, that's just been. I finally got my backlog caught up and releasing it on YouTube. And that backlog was streams, and I've moved all of my streaming currently anyway. And I don't see a reason to not leave, but Twitch is where I primarily stream. But I haven't really streamed that much, man. Maybe like once every 2 weeks around there. What else? So we've been doing that. I've finally gotten caught up there. So I know most of you follow me and you found me through YouTube, right? So a lot of the content's slowing down, and just because like there's not maybe I don't know the way or the right way of saying this, but the drive of just scribbling for myself is fun. And I'm still doing that. I'm still just noodling and stuff. But like I say, calling it a hobby has sort of like it just shows me the power of language, by calling something a hobby, it's sort of like you treat it as such, right? And I don't think there's anything wrong with art being a hobby or art being like a career or something that you'd like to change into a career, right? Professional, if you want to call it that, and all that kind of stuff. It's just that's currently where I'm at, and the health thing, all that. I'd like to get that straightened out this year. The way I'm looking at it is, how long do you live on this planet? None of us know, right? But I think at this point I'm just tired of taking life for granted. Um, and that might sound a little superficial or sound like, oh, here we go. Like you can hear the soapbox scraping across the ground because I'm about to get on there. But when I mean taking life for granted, it's just that. What's an elegant way of saying this? I suppose looking at it this way, the job that I have, and for those of you that don't know, I'm sure I've said it a bunch of times. I work at a video game company here in Windsor, the only one that I'm aware of. And initially, I was the only artist that was working there. And now we've found another gentleman, and he works with us too. Tremendous artist in his own right. And he's picking up things like if you've never worked at a game company, and I'll just say this because I've got I think I'll be close to 5 years now, so that's quite an achievement, to me anyway. But coming in like he came in from my background was like a very comic book driven one, and his is more of a, what would be a good way of saying it? I don't want to say a landscape painter because I know he enjoys that, but he's more than that as well. But more of like the painted illustration side, right? And when you have to work at a video game company, and you guys are like currently right now, there's two of us, but when it was just me, you got to wear more than one hat most of the time, especially in a small studio. So you could go from one day to creating like, we need concept art for the main character, and that always sounds fun, right? We need the concept art for this and that. But in that same day, in that 8-hour window, you could have to do concept art. You could have to do UI, which means user interface. So if you don't know what that is, any video game you've ever played, for even like a DVD menu, that's all user interface. What you see, like menus and stuff, right? You have to do that. Design buttons, what those buttons look like, and then go into a logo. Those are things like, and you don't learn how to properly do that stuff, in my opinion, until you're working in it, and that's where that was rubbing me a little bit, because it was very difficult when I was first working there, and that's why I was trying to say maybe I was taking it or I'm taking life for granted, meaning that at first, it's sort of like that chase of why are you doing the things you're doing, and just to bring it back, and I realize I'm just shooting at the hip here, and I'm just shotgun blasting this conversation. So, if you got questions for what I'm saying, feel free to leave in the comments. I'll do a reply. But when let me take you back a little bit here. When I was in Toronto, and I think I talked about this story before too. When I was in Toronto, I wasn't exactly happy to move there. But the girlfriend I was with at the time, she was a photographer, and she wanted to do fashion photography. And here in Windsor, she was having a hard time finding that. So she wanted to move to Toronto. And I mean, anybody that knows move from a small city to a big city, you just times it by 1,000 the opportunity that's out there. But it's also, and that's something I don't think she took into account, and many people don't take into account, is just because there's more opportunity out there, in my belief, that means there's also that much added complexity and difficulty in getting it, right? However, that's not to disclude or dissuade anybody. That's just the reality. So when we were out there, it didn't matter where I was, because I was just working a retail job, and I was actually working at EB Games in Canada here. And, I told my boss, and I said, I'm moving up to Toronto. Is there any way around this area where I'm moving that they might need somebody? Luckily, they were able to squeeze me in, so I knew I had a job going there, and it was part-time. But at that time, what I was more confident about was, like, I want to push towards comics. That's the thing. And I've spoken about this at length. The reason I got into comics isn't because I love the medium. And I do believe that is the reason why, to this day, technical skill aside, tenacity pays off. But that's the reason why I don't work for one of these bigger companies, is because I don't love it. I do it because it is fun, and it's a way for me to tell a story. And I could do that through a cover, I could do that through anything. And that sort of thing is the reason why I know for myself that I get scattered. But at the time, I wanted to do comics, okay? And the way I looked at it was I can draw, I can get better, and if I can get a job doing comics, then I can work from home drawing. And that's like the dream of, I think, a lot of artists is to be able to work from home. So fast forward a little bit. I don't want to dwell on that too much, but fast forward that to sort of that mentality has never left me ever since dropping out of college. When I was in college, this is going back in time even further. In college, I had the animation class, and then I met up with that Marvel artist randomly while I was, drawing my sketchbook at a gas station I worked at, and for me that was sort of like the stars aligning. It was like, oh, this is that destiny, I suppose you could look at, that I could see. Who runs into a Marvel artist while they're working a crummy job at night at a gas station, and I'm sketching from a muscle magazine, and then the guy happens to live, literally he moved back in town, and he literally lived right across the street, a house over from me. Right? Like, you can start connecting the dots that this is where you're supposed to go. And that's what I did. And I don't think I was wrong or right. I mean, I think it's a very human thing to connect dots that maybe you don't see, and then sometimes you do see them. But life is an interesting thing. Life goes in different directions, and you can do the best to stay the course you're on. But the trick here, and I do believe this very much, that if you don't know why you're doing the things you're doing, like you believe in it and you want to give into it 100%, it's very easy to get dissuaded. Yeah, dissuaded would be a good way of saying it. And that's currently where I'm at. Just to bring it all the way back up to here, is that that mentality of always working the job or two jobs and doing comics on the side so that I could work for Marvel, right? Like, to be blunt, I would have worked at DC for sure if it was offered me, but if I had to pick which one to go with, for me, I'm just a Marvel guy. I just find it more interesting. And that was what I was doing. And even with this job I have now, it was still like, okay, well, when I come home, I'm still trying to get at Marvel, but not really. What I was doing was I was just trying to find, as long as I was doing busy work, is probably a better way of saying it. If I was doing busy work, if I was doing client work for people, and if there's any of the clients that I've ever worked with listening to me run my mouth right now, I mean, ill will or any malice towards the projects we worked on. I loved not loved, but let's just say I did the work that was necessary to get those projects done. Some I really loved, and some people I screwed over, right? And those are the learning pains, and I'm forever sorry for those people that I burned. I've never taken money from somebody and didn't at least refund them when I left the project, or at least tried to find somebody to replace it. Definitely never one of those guys that just disappeared. That to me is some low shit, and I hope none of you artists ever do that. Please be a man about it. Treat it with the respect it deserves, even if you flake out. But that mentality of always chasing, I think I've just gotten tired of it, and yeah, it leads up to now, and now that we've got the studios growing, it's sort of like I'm at an impasse here, right? One of them, and I'm the one thing that I've always hesitated with is that I life is a scary thing, right? You get two choices when it comes to work, at least in this argument. One is working for somebody else. That could be at a retail store. This could be at a game studio, right? You're working for somebody else. Both those jobs could collapse at any moment, right? And I don't think it's appropriate to live in fear, but you got to be realistic, right? And now I know the field that I'm in right now with this video game company is that it's more volatile, in my opinion, at least the way it seems, than like working at a retail joint. Retail places, they tend to stay open for many years. Entertainment, that stuff comes and goes, right? So I know that's always been in the back of my mind, is like a shaky road. But the thing that it does give is steady employment while it's there, right? And that's another thing that I'll add next to the, not pursuing comic books aggressively is, and I don't, if this makes me sound like a coward or anything, it wouldn't, whatever, but I enjoy that illusion. That's a good way of saying it. I enjoy the illusion of a full-time paycheck. I go in, I do the job, I do it the best I can, and I get a paycheck at the end of it. There's lots of people I hear talking about, they're chasing clients for their money, or they're what are they doing next? How do I set this up? Did I save enough money for the slow times and all that stuff, right? I just don't enjoy the thought of that. But the cost to that is that I'll never get to experience the things that those people get to experience, right? Like what it's like to work from home, what it's like to be the man, or if you're a lady, be the woman that's in charge of this stuff. Like I don't know the power that feels. It's got to have a very good effect, or else a lot of these people wouldn't do it. Or these people are just so crazy. My artist brothers and sisters are so insane that we just have that ego where we'll make it or we'll break it, And I don't think any of this is bad stuff. It's everybody's choice is personal. So currently, I don't want to say given in, but like now my title is turned into like art director, right? And just so you guys know, I don't know how well this is at other places, but it's pretty like, unless you're at like a super AAA studio or something, you could be called, super mega awesome director if you're the only person there. You can name it whatever you want, right? But now that I've got the other artist on board, I'm his art director, and then I answer to another art director as well for a different studio. But I'm like in charge. Like there's more responsibility on me to have a vision of a product, right? And it's interesting work. It's definitely like I'm still designing, but it's interesting, And it leads me to the next side, which is like I'll just like JESOP King. I'm almost getting tired of saying the name, to be honest with you, because I talk about it as like that's my thing. It's my little kid, and I'm proud of it, and I'm proud of where it might go, and the day-to-day whatever. But why I'm kind of getting sick of it is because I'm not really working on it. I noodle here and there, but it's like this weird flow. There's just a state that I'm in right now where it's like I go to work and I'm doing artwork. It's not just like I'm doing like, and this is where you guys might get a little, well, John, no, it's not. Because like I said, one day I might have to do a logo. One day I might have to do user interface. But it's all Photoshop. It's all design, right? Design is very much in there. But it's not figure work. It's color theory. It's shape. It's value. It's design. The job I do currently, and it's probably going to be like that for the next 6 months, almost a year, is just like almost like a graphic designer as opposed to comic book work, right? And this continually plays in the back of my mind that the reason why I'm okay with it, and my hat tips to my brother. He's a graphic designer. He went all the way through school, went to Toronto as well, did some really amazing stuff. He's still a very talented guy. But you hear this stuff, right? Like you don't go into comics because of the money, unless you're somehow able to reach Jim Lee status, right? Which very few people are able to do. But unless you're able to reach there, and I don't mean to like scare you guys away, this is just the real talk, right? You could get into pretty much any other art field and make a lot more money. If not more money, you'll have more time. Okay, and that's where this sorts of go, and that's sort of where I'm at, I suppose, in sort of talking about this out loud. And I know this is going on like quite a bit longer than I intended it to. And I'll wrap this up and just start getting into some fun shit after I sort of do my little like diary dump here, like dear journal. But that free time I'm really enjoying, and that's sort of like what this year's looking like. I'm looking at my wall right now, and I have some of the prints up here. Like I've got the standard that I worked on with John Lees, Will Robson. Wonderful team. Stephen Forbes, wonderful editor. Tremendous people that worked on that book, right? And they're all indie guys. I'm looking at that, and I have the very first cover printed, and I have it up on my wall next to the first trade paperback image. And I see JESOP King, and I see the Venom poster, the Mega Man, the Ninja Turtle prints, the Thanos, right? Like I'm seeing the stuff I did, and I love looking at this stuff. It's almost like a little time capsule. There was a point last year when I was doing, especially these prints, and I'm proud of them, and I think it's very good. Like it's a good thing to be proud of your art. It moves you, it keeps you going, but currently it's just like I feel like this year for me anyway, and I mean this is only January. We still got like 11 more months to go, but for me right now, I need to worry about myself. I got to be selfish this year, even though working in comics, I think most people are pretty selfish in comics anyway, just because of the time it requires. And if you're in a relationship or something, you know what I'm talking about. I'm sure many of us have had that conversation with the boyfriend, the girlfriend, the wife, the husband, whoever, about like how come you work too much, you know. But the selfish part of me is sort of like I'm just stepping back, and I'm just going to be doing some exercising, try to get healthy in the body so that the mind can clear up, you know, and hopefully during this year I can sort of find my way, because I'm not lost, but I do feel like, and I have come up with the why I was still continuing to do JESOP and stuff. I still very much believe in legacy. You know, like I would like to have a kid at some point, sooner rather than later. And I have no idea what that's going to do to my productivity when it comes to like personal work. I imagine that's going to go right down the tubes, and that's fine. But the legacy is something that I could do to leave behind, even if I don't have kids, for the next artist coming up, or my niece. You know, maybe what I'm doing helps inspire her, me, and you know what I mean, like that sort of thing. And it's sort of like that, the purpose of a man sort of thing. Jordan Peterson, I played a video of his, one of the streams a few weeks back, because you guys wanted to hear it, and I thought it was really interesting. He was talking sort of about like men, and why a lot of men are lost nowadays, because in his little diatribe there, he was talking about like most men don't have responsibility at all, and that's where we start drifting. Men focus best when we have responsibility, and you know, a job is something that can make you feel like a man, even if it's cleaning toilets. If you have a reason to make that income and to provide or something, it's very, you know, maybe it's old school thinking, but I gotta relate a lot to it. You know, like I feel the pressure of coming home and making sure that the lights are on, there's food on the table, you know, stuff like that. My girlfriend's, you know, safe and sound. Her chihuahua is warm, even though I don't really like the chihuahua. That's fine, right? But as long as the cats and everybody's taken care of, like it makes me feel that like when I come home, I can relax. And even if I have to work more, I get it. And now I'm really rambling, but all of that's to say, you guys, I don't know how much more streams we're going to be doing. Like I say, this is going to be a very art light year for me. I'm definitely still going to be posting little snapshots and stuff. So follow me everywhere on social media if you want, or if you currently are. I'll just keep posting there. You guys can shoot me messages all the time. You guys still do, and I appreciate that. And I'm always here to help, right? If anybody's got any questions about anything, by all means, shoot me a message. It's not a problem. I don't want to say I'm disappearing, but I just sort of wanted to record this, and this is a long wait. What were we at? Like 25 minutes now of me getting to the point of just saying like it's just gonna be a little bit slower for me this year, and who knows, maybe we'll pick it back up. I honestly do not know what's going to happen with Jessup King currently right now. I gotta say, you know, maybe putting an hour or two, maybe 5 hours into it a week. Other than that, it's like, you know, just it's not one of my priorities this year. So, you know, and I'm going to have to make a little message for my Patreon people. I know I just changed it up like 4 or 15,000 times. Just let people know what's up. And if you guys still wanted to give money, I mean, I get it. Other than that, what's some fun stuff? So, video games. I'm looking at this game right here on my table called Dragon Ball Fighter Z. Anybody else pick it up? I'm a little torn on it, I'll be honest with you. I mean, it looks incredible. It looks incredible. I actually can't wait. And this, actually, you know what? I'll quickly touch on this. And I know I'm all over the place here, but I made a tweet and I posted on Facebook going back to my roots, sort of art style wise. And this will be more along the lines of what I'm doing this year too, where it's more just if I don't have a deadline, or if I have nothing that I'm holding myself accountable for, then it's not work, right? Now it's more of a hobby and fun. And I really want to enjoy the downtime of study, of going back and trying to find style. Sorry about that. Trying to find some sort of style and kind of getting back to the roots of like, even before I met that Marvel artist who hooked me up and taught me a great deal of anatomy, and I'll be forever grateful. However, the sacrifice that came to that was what got me excited to draw in the first place, which was, you know, Dragon Ball. As a matter of fact, Dragon Ball, anything from Capcom, growing up from video games from a kid. That art, Japanese art, was amazing. There's a level of anime and manga that I can look at where it gets too, I I want to say maybe two Asians way. It is a super high detailed armor with big like almost childlike features for the women. Like I can't get into that. Like Berserk. If you ever read that manga, that's a beautiful, beautiful it's a halfway point. Dragon Ball's got like it's a unique style, but it's still I suppose masculine's the way to look at it. If I were to give it a word, the Capcom art, like Street Fighter, that kind of stuff. I really want to focus back in on that this year, and it was scary. It's scary to make that choice because I've built up a very efficient drawing style up to this point. And JESOP King's coming along like super smooth. I'm able to hammer out like 3 pages a week, full color. For the webcomic, that's possible, and it's great to do that, and I'm very comfortable in it. But I look at it, and there's something missing, and I know what that thing that's missing is. It's me, in a weird sort of artsy fartsy way of wording that. My little art soul isn't in it. Like I enjoy drawing certain things, but then I feel like if maybe you guys ever had this when you're drawing, like let's say a muscle, and you're drawing it, but then you stop for a second and you go, how would blank draw this muscle? That's the problem. I'm still in that mode, and I definitely know why. And it's old habits I got to break off. Anyway, so back to this. I'm a little I'm not sure what to think of Dragon Ball. I don't know if it's just because I'm old as hell now or what, but it's the big thing that's really rubbing me the wrong way with this game is a buddy at work asked me if I was picking it up. He knows that I really enjoy fighting games, and I said, I don't know. It looks so fucking good, and I don't know. And I was asking a couple friends, and they weren't getting it. Then good buddy Will Robson, he's like, "Hey, you picking it up?" He was getting it, and I'm like, "Okay, well now I know somebody else that's getting it." And then I asked my brother, and he's a big Street Fighter guy too. "You grabbing it?" And he goes, "I don't know." Sent him a video or two, and he was like, "Holy shit, yeah, okay, let's do it. That's what we're gonna do Friday night. We're gonna just play this game." So we get it, and the thing that's turning me off right now is it's currently, at the time of this recording, it's impossible to play with people online, like friends. You can queue up and all that stuff, and that pisses me off. I'll be honest, I don't have the time to necessarily always go to a friend's house to play this, and I don't want to just jump online with random people just to play co-op. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyway, this is just nitpicky. The game itself, I think, is super incredible. Super fun, I should say. It looks absolutely beautiful. And I'm sure they'll iron some of that stuff out, but I think I'm just a little salty with that. Monster Hunter Worlds, that just came out. That one I haven't picked up. I don't know if I will. I'm still going to wait and just give it some time. The thing that turned me on with Monster Hunter was that it was portable. And when it finally clicked for me was Monster Hunter, I think it was Generations on 3DS. I bought 3, Try, I think it was, and that did nothing for me. And then 2 years later, I got Generations. I know Monster Hunter 4 was out at the time, but I picked up Generations because it sounded like it was more fun. Apparently, they did some stuff to make it a little more accessible. I don't know. But it was a magical moment when all of a sudden I understood the hook and the cycle that was in the game. Like the gaming hook is what a lot of us call it. Where, okay, this is the repetition I'm doing. And it was amazing. And the fact that I could play it anywhere, that was even better. I think that game, like Monster Hunter, is well suited for that. I'm a little hesitant that it's like, I know I've looked at gameplay. It looks absolutely tits. It's amazing. I don't know if I want to spend that kind of time just sitting in front of my TV to play it. You know what I'm saying? You can, with portable stuff, you get a little bit more options. So that's that. I don't know if there's really. Fuck. I know I'm way at the end here. I'll probably put this in the title so you guys can kind of skip around. But board games. I want to talk about that real quick before I take off here. I briefly touched on the idea of solo board games and how that's one of the things that I've been able to keep myself entertained without going onto a device with a screen, like video games and tablets to draw on and stuff. Especially since I'm at work all the time staring at a screen. The last thing I want to do is come home and stare at more screens. That's another thing of the mental health I was sort of talking about. Okay, so how do I start in this one? You know what? Actually, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop. I'm going to actually record a real quick episode here talking about board games, and it's going to be out of whack. I'm going to put the board games audio thing first here, and then this will be the next one that I'll get released later on in the week. But anyway, so I'll get out of here. I'm going to say thank you guys. I don't know when we'll be streaming or whatever, but please keep in touch. I'll keep in touch. I'll record some stuff from time to time. I'm not going off the face of the planet, but I'm just being selfish this year and, conceding to to just have fun, try to relearn some anime manga style into my art, enjoy life, all that kind of stuff, and get healthy. That's really what I'm looking forward to, and we'll see what. 2018 just getting started, right? That party's just getting started. But I would love to hear your guys' things. What are you guys doing this year? What are the things you're looking for? What are you trying to improve on yourself this year? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion with you guys. And until next time, you guys, keep reading comics, keep making comics, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.